Hello, everyone in Training Tuesday land. I'm Heidi Reese, the Training Programs Manager for Dayton Superior, and I want to welcome you to this week's, Training Tuesday. We're glad that you could attend. Got a great month of bridge deck happening, and today we're going to be talking about exterior bridge deck. I just did a rah-rah for Chuck standing here, and I was like, woohoo, exterior bridge deck. So we're pumped, he's pumped, and hopefully you'll be pumped with us too. But before we all get pumped and started as he raises his hands in the air, I want to go over a couple housekeeping items like normal. I wanted to remind each and every one of you has joined muted, but that doesn't mean that you can't ask any questions. I've started doing the ask your question here dash Heidi. That's me. You can talk to me and chat and Q&A through Zoom functionality anytime during the presentation. And at the end, we'll have a mini Q&A session as well. In addition, we record every one of these and put them out on our DaytonSuperior.com website, as well as the Dayton Superior YouTube channel. Just search for the Training Tuesdays on DaytonSuperior.com and you can get to all of them, and they're organized by the product type that you want. Okay, so moving right along. This presentation is intended for training purposes only. Like normal, if you need to use the products or you're looking at purchasing them, go to DaytonSuperior.com for any technical specifications for the products that we're going to talk about within this presentation. So who is Dayton Superior? We always say that we're the leading provider in engineered solutions for the concrete construction industry, and we are, but what does that mean? Not only do we have the products for pretty much all of the concrete construction industry, such as accessories, chemicals, and forming, but we stand behind that with our training, and we have the largest engineering team around. Especially, we're going to be talking about bridge decks today. So there's a whole engineering team that's dedicated to assist with that as well. So things like forming and shoring, that's tried and true products. Simon's forming and shoring is adaptable. They go with each other. They're strong. They get the job done, whether it's heavy forming or light forming with our wall forming accessories. In addition, we've got the chemicals in all areas for you, and everything can get bundled. So this is where I usually do that spiel. You ready, Chuck? Yeah, you ready? Okay. So this is a mini session for training. We only have about a half an hour to get to the point. And if you need more, please talk to us at training@DaytonSuperior.com. It goes straight to Chuck and myself, and we can get you set up with more extensive training customized to fit your needs. So if this entices you and you want to know more, and our whole bridge deck month didn't get everything, we can make it happen for you. So let's talk about Chuck, because he loves this part of the presentation. I want you all to give a warm welcome to Mr. Chuck Hoke. You like how I wrote that today?
Mm-hmm.
I can hear him going, "Hi, Chuck." He's here to enlighten us on the exterior bridge deck, as I said, and I want you to get your questions ready because he is our guru of concrete construction products. With almost 50 years in the biz, Chuck knows pretty much every trick in the book. And he spent 20 years as a dealer for accessories and chemicals, and 29 of those years rocking it here at Dayton Superior. That's all I'm going to say. See, it's not too bad. So take it away, Mr. Chuck.
Well, thank you, Heidi.
Yep.
Okay, as Heidi alluded to, we are going to be talking about bridge deck exterior forming here today. Last week we talked about the interior, so now let's talk about the exterior component of the bridge structure. So typically, you're going to start with a set of plans. Now, don't get nervous here. You'll have plans, pages, just phenomenal number of pages covering everything from landscaping all the way to piping to details, etc. We were only talking about 3 or 4 pages of the plan section is what we are looking for.
But you're going to go over those, right?
And we are going to talk about those. Now, as I said, only 3 or 4 sheets, typically from the whole set. Typically, they're going to be located in the structural component of the bridge set of plans. So those would be the S drawings. So one of them is going to be obviously the bridge deck section. So here's a typical Ohio bridge deck section. As you can see, this is a transverse view going right straight through the center of from the center of the structure from abutment to abutment. And you've got basically details here that you are going to be looking for on this page. This page actually includes the majority of the information that you are going to need, such as, everything from out to out. And we're going to show you where to find the deck thickness and other things on it here coming up. The other page you are going to need to start with, and I like to start with this because this is the one that I typically is the first one I have. I like to know how big the project is going to be. So I'm looking for the typical framing plan. And if you, this one here is a steel structure here. Concrete structures will look pretty similar, only they'll have obviously concrete girders in lieu of steel girders. So here we have concrete Ohio framing plan. You're looking at, you're going to get the overall length of the bridge is typically from out to out. Couple of different places you can get this. You can get this from the drawing up above, or you can get it right off the girders here down below, because obviously you got to have a girder going from abutment to abutment. And usually that's how long the bridge is. Usually within an overhang bracket or two at most. The other thing you're going to find here is on this detail is you're going to find out what type of girder it is. And the girder will be denoted as either a W or WF number, or it'll actually give you the true measurements of the beam flange, web, and bottom flange. And it'll also include any tension zones, etc. So here we have our girder details here. This section here, as you can see, right here, you've got your top flange dimensions right here. You've got your web dimensions right in here. You've got other plate dimensions here for the top of the girder. So as you can see, the flanges change from section to section within the beam structure. And this will all be denoted in and on the girder details. So here we're going to talk about, we're going back to that deck section view that we've got. So now that we've got the top flange dimensions, we know what size our top flange is. Let's figure out what we got to have to go with it. So is to calculate out the calculations for a bridge deck calculation sheet, you're going to need the girder spacing on it. What's the spacing on the girders here? This is typically located on this view. Usually it's 3 or 4, depending on how many girders you've got. It's usually, anywhere from 6 foot to 10 foot in width here per section. You're going to have your deck thickness here is located here, so you know how thick the deck is. You're going to have also any of the deck thickness over the girder. So that's going to tell you how much of a haunch do you have. And haunch is the elevation from the top of the beam flange to the bottom side of the deck. Haunch will typically, especially when you're calculating interior bays, that's where it's going to be important. If you're using SIP decking and or concrete plank decking, the concrete plank and the SIP decking take that haunch number out of the equation. They actually calculate that into the position of the SIP. And SIP stands for stay in place.
Thank you.
So, and then we have our bridge width. This is going to tell you how wide your finishing machine has to be. Why is that important? Because that's going to tell you how much your machine is going to weigh. Typically, a finishing machine comes in a standard width. If it goes a little bit wider, you add a section to the machine to actually cover that width, which actually increases the overall weight of the machine. So here we're going to be talking about overhang brackets and the hangers that accompany for all that information that we just compiled. We're going to be looking at beam details and geometry, obviously, wheel load spacing, how that plays a role within the spacing of the overhang brackets, and basically a contractor preferred hanger type spacing, and obviously what lumber the contractor is going to prefer to use. Here we go. I lost the page. Okay. So here we've got different types of hangers that we've got. And each one of these has a different cadence per se. Let's say is how it's going to be used, what it's going to be used for. For interior forming, you've got the hanger in the top right-hand corner. For half hangers with SIP decking, where they will allow welding to the girder, you have half hangers that can be welded to it. We've got a variety of wraparound hangers, other types of weld-on hangers, and also a precast hanger that you're seeing here that we're showing a type 9 APR hanger. Those are typically designed as a precast hanger. So here's our interior design. One of the more common ones here that we see is a type 1A PS hanger. Uh, Typically, this is one where the finishing machine will not be on the overhang bracket, but will be on the girder. So this is a very commonplace hanger to be used in the marketplace. Now, because we're dealing with exterior, so we're going to look at exterior here, being that everything else on the interior is either was covered last week, or it's going to be covered here with SIP decking. Steel decking typically is basically a corrugated metal decking that you'll have a subcontractor come in, place it in the deck, take care of all the center base forming. Unfortunately for the distributors out there, it takes away a big sale for us, but for the contractors, it's actually much cheaper square footage wise to actually use SIP decking, just because of labor costs. So, and whether you're using steel beams or concrete girders, there's different attachments and components that can be done with this. And, you're going to look at sections that look something very similar to this. This is a structure here up in upstate New York, here where they actually use a half hanger to weld to the girder in places. You can see it down on the side here, the SIP decking off to the side here, and their overhang brackets formed up with guardrail and so forth. Now, in case we have to have a precast project, we have a C24 4 APR half hanger. Now, this is a half hanger. We have some jobs that are typically some states like Texas, it typically has 3 or 4 girders, so we automatically have drawings already set up and ready to go. These hangers are stocked in a lot of our facilities down in the Texas area, just for those precast girder applications. But these precast hangers can be adapted to be, the standard is a 6x4x2. Here we've got one that is either 18 or 21 inches by 4 inches by 2 inches. So we can adapt them to accommodate to where we ever can go back to get to an anchorage point where we're into the meat of the girder. So why is that important? Well, you see the other option that people are using is concrete plank. This is a new fashion SIP decking. We are seeing concrete plank being used on more and more states, primarily because the material is porous. So certain states like Texas, Colorado, Utah, we're seeing more and more of them in Missouri, Kansas, et cetera, are all going to this in lieu of an SIP decking, because SIP has been given the bad rap of, if it rains out or anything, any of the sodium or calcium that is on top of the bridge deck will seep through the deck, hit the SIP decking, and then be collecting there. And what it will actually do is disintegrate or diminish the strength of the concrete deck, causing you to have to do more deck repairs more often. So they've gone to this concrete plank, which actually is the same thing as concrete pour. Concrete is a porous product. So the material here, by going with a concrete plank, allows the moisture to seep through the bridge deck and then through the concrete plank and then out through the bottom of it, which enables the state agencies to actually visually inspect easier and better what the condition of the bottom half of the deck actually is. Typically, they set their haunch here with the grout. They'll put a pad of grout. As you see here, they actually just ran a bead of it along the edge of the girder, and they're going to set the plank in place. Uh, these are typically fabricated at a precast shop and shipped to the job site. The dimensions are here are typically the center to center, basically the clear span plus about 4 or 5 inches so they can actually cover and sit on the girders themselves and actually sit in that pad of grout. You may also see a piece of high density foam sitting on here to actually stop the grout from oozing out to the inside of the girder. It's just some of the different states have different specifications regarding this. Well, if the states are using a steel girder and they're going to use a concrete plank for their SIP, we also have wraparound type hangers, which actually can be placed prior to putting the precast plank in place. And a lot of times when contractors have a job with this, and especially these are great for areas on the beams where there's tension zones where you can't weld, or if the state won't allow you to weld to a steel girder at all, this wraparound is probably one of your best options in as far as strengths of the hanger. A lot of contractors will place these hangers before the SIP contractor comes in, and then the SIP contractor will be able to notch out the SIP in and around that edge where it actually wraps around. The overhang bracket on all these jobs here typically is going to be a standard 45, is a C49. It has works with the 45-degree receptacle in the hanger to actually accommodate anything that you have for beam depths here from typically 36 inches all the way down to 90 inches. So the C49 has an adaptability of 30 to 50 inches in vertical height. And the C49D, which is very similar, only a couple of pipes are a little bit longer, can extend those out to 50 to 70 inches. All those brackets, including our C49S, which is, we're going to show a little bit of how we actually modify a standard C49, all have a 3,750 pound load rating and has a 54-inch horizontal height or dimension for platform. So with the C49S, probably our biggest question we get, I have a job here and it's got to have a short bracket. How do I get a bracket, C49? I want to order a C49S bracket. I own C49s, but how do I get there? Well, if you own C49s, the trick is there are 2 pipes in the vertical leg. And the vertical leg, take the interior pipe out, set it off to the side. Where it connects to the horizontal member, you want to connect that outer pipe at the same location. Okay, so basically you're going to pop the bolt out in the center component where the 2 pipes actually join, slide that outside pipe all the way down and into between the 2 horizontal members. And this will actually, and then put a bolt through that, will give you a S bracket. You now have the ability to actually run that bracket from 14 inches to about 26 inches in height altogether. So you can actually have 26 to 28 inches depending on where you're located. Depending on what your girder dimension is, you may have only 14 inches or 20 inches to actually work with. You want to keep it up above the bottom of the beam, especially in a concrete beam. This is a type 4 or type 5 girder. You want to make sure that you actually stay about 3, 4 inches just in case of any settlement once you start putting concrete and the finishing machine starts to ride on it. So let the vertical leg run wild, kick it out here. And if you run into a steel girder with this application, you're going to want to kick it out. You can have a couple of different options here. You can actually just shorten up the diagonal here and have your horizontal all the way back to the steel frame, or you can actually kick the horizontal member out as long with the bottom diagonal where it connects to here. The overhang bracket policy here is you want to make sure that if the bracket is sitting out and keeping it perpendicular, you have that blocking. And myself, I like to trim the blocking so I'm about an inch short of the outside edge of that beam flange. That gives me a little block area or a little notch area where my diagonal piece can actually sit and rest. This actually helps ensure that the bracket won't slide down or move around. So that's actually a nice little safety feature involved with this. We also have available a junior bracket. We had 54 inches on our horizontal. Now we have 27. We now have a vertical adjustment from 16 to 28 inches. And you can make this a little bit shorter too, just like you would with a C49 by removing that interior pipe if need be. We do have a wall plate adapter so they can on your precast girders, if you're doing a precast box girder or some of the next girder generations, you may need to form up your overhang, but you don't have a bracket in place. Here you can actually have an insert cast into the girder, and you can then connect to that girder with a wall plate, or you can actually use it as like for an overhang bracket, overhang bracket as a scaffold bracket by using the C51 wall plate. It gives you, still maintains the same 3,750 load capacity of the overhang bracket. Is a much stronger and usable receptacle for especially scaffolding and shoring. We do have guardrails available for this, guardrail receptacles, and also extenders so that you can get a 20 inches of extension on the walkway. Remember, that's walkway, not concrete loading, but it's for live load only.
Would I be considered a live load?
You would be considered a live load.
Okay, but not-
And I am also a live load.
Cool.
So we have a safety rail adapter kit that's available. You can get a guardrail receptacle that will bolt to your bracket with the post already attached. This actually enables you to have pockets for all your 2x to actually be placed. And then all you have to do is just run a screw or a nail through it to actually attach everything. And this meets and conforms to OSHA requirements. We wouldn't be we would be remiss to say that we didn't have your dimensions covered. We've got what I'll call a beast of a bracket because it's the C89 and the C89L typically are 72 and 90 inches long on the horizontal. Both of these here, typically, these brackets weigh considerably more, about 160 pounds a piece versus a 52-pound bracket for a C49. You do have an adjustment from 28 to 66 and 30 to 66, but this bracket is a 6,000-pound loaded bracket, except a 3/4 inch coil rod for it. So you have to use the special 3/4 inch hanger with this system. but this will actually accommodate any heavier loads that you have. The biggest load you will have on the overhang bracket is your finishing machine. More and more states are going to eliminating the finishing machines on the overhang brackets, primarily because the finishing machines are getting so big and so heavy today that they're actually outweighing the capacity of the overhang bracket themselves. So what's happening is the finishing machine, and the reason they're getting so big is because roads are getting wider and wider and wider. So we're seeing changes from a 4-lane highway to a 6-lane or 8-lane highway. And when they finish it, they actually finish the whole section across so you've got a bigger finishing machine, which results in heavier loads. From this information here, depending on how wide the bridge is, you need this information to get the number of wheels per side, the wheel spacing, and the wheel weights. The contractor GC is the only one that can actually give you that because he knows his machine based off of what type of machine it is, whether it's a Bidwell, Gamaco, or an Allen machine. Those machines are actually, if you have a dimensionalized uh, how wide your legs are going to be, you'll know how the wheel spacing is going to be. They'll actually be able to tell you what the wheel spacing, wheel weight is. And this is all required to help fill this deck information sheet out. If you have a request for bridge overhang bracket spacing, this is available on our online at bridgeobeng at DaytonSuperior.com. Or you can actually download it off of our website and actually fill it out and just forward it to the email address up above. This way, as we start the process here of getting the engineering, whether you're looking for just a fascia spacing, interior spacing, and or a drawing required to go with it. If you're looking for just a spacing, engineering calculations, this is what you'll get coming back to you. This is a billable charge because this can actually be turned into the state DOT as your calculated engineering for the DOT spacing of the bracket. This will actually give you spacing all the way down through. It gives you the spacing right at the bottom of the page. Here, this one says 4 foot. Typically, if you're looking for that, that's one charge. If you're looking at drawing, that's an add-on to that charge because you'll get the spacing plus a drawing. And your drawing will be something fairly similar to this. This is just a random picture or a drawing that we actually pulled out of our archive showing a hanger described, what hanger is being used, the overhang brackets being used, where the finishing machine is going to be. The estimated load of the finishing machine is on this drawing here. And we can also provide this with a PE stamp for an additional charge.
So I just sent all you guys the bridge deck right before you go to the resources. That's good. The what's it called? Bridge job sheet that you just talked about. And I sent that in the chat if you guys wanted to get to it. And if you have any questions, we do have one question before Chuck goes over the resources. Type in your questions for now and we'll get to it. So what kind of resources do they have, Chuck?
So on our website, we actually have technical data sheets. Our handbook is a great asset to have for when you're pre-bidding any of these jobs because you can get a rough spacing based off of the dimension of the overhang bracket and the approximate weight of the finishing machine. Those are charts that are in the back of the book will actually come out and give you an approximation of information. You have contact and sales and customer service, technical engineers training, how to get a hold of any of these people here. Basically on our map section, you actually go in and call up where you're located. You'll get to see how to get a hold of customer service, who's the sales rep that actually handles the locale, and obviously any of the technical and engineering and training components of the Dayton Superior organization. So with that, you've got also here, as we said, technical engineering. There is a section under resources called engineering. You can go to that, click on that, and that will actually pop up to get down to bridge deck. And that will actually take you to all the information that we've talked about within this presentation. So
Okay.
do we have any questions out there? Feel free to let us know.
Yeah, we have a couple. So the first one is there a C51 type option for the C89L bracket?
No, there is not. Primarily because the bracket requirement strength exceeds like a 3/4 inch drop-in insert. So we typically do not have one for the C89.
And so I'm moving forward because this says regarding the slide showing the C49S for steel beam.
Yep,
Found it. The horizontal member of the bracket is not bearing against the beam web.
yes.
Is there any concern for the bearing on the flat nailer nailed to the top of the horizontal member alone?
The flat nailer will have to be able to bear against that bracket. The nailer is actually attached to the flat of the horizontal member of the overhang bracket. Your diagonal component here coming out of the coil rod, coming out of the hanger, will still need to be at a 45-degree angle. So typically what you are going to be looking at is this dimension here, right here, from the bottom of the girder.
Oh, I didn't make you a pen. It's just a laser pointer. Sorry. You can do it. I love dual screens.
Pen.
There you go.
So this dimension right here to right here is going to have to be the same as from this dimension right here to here. So basically your drop down is going to, and how far out you're going to be will be basically a 45, 45, 90-degree right triangle. If we move this component piece, move this piece here all the way back here, this 45-degree adapter will have to meet out at this area someplace. So that will still maintain that 45-degree drop down.
So Mr. Jeff, if that didn't answer your question, please let me know.
And give me or drop me a line here and we will be able to answer that question. And I can talk you through it probably in a little bit better. I can find a couple of details that would actually coincide.
He said thank you, so it must be good. Anybody else have any questions? And you're welcome, by the way. Like I answered that question, that was all you, but I say you're welcome.
You're welcome. There you go.
It's going twice. All right, well, like Chuck said, if you do have any questions and you think about them, then contact us. You can either get to that contact sheet and it's got our phone numbers on there,
Yep.
Call us directly. We are going to be doing estimations, like takeoffs, aren't we, next
Yes.
week? That should be fun. So get out there and sign up for it. I will have the web page updated momentarily. So give me about a half an hour, if that. So other than that, thank you, Chuck. You guys have a great rest of your Tuesday, and I'll see you next week. Bye now.
Thank you.